Now this video, you are going to love. You're going to love it's not a story, but I'm going to read an article. This came from originally the Daily Reckoning by Eric Fry. And I remember this. It's always been on my mind for a long time now. I remember getting the email, I subscribe, whatever. And this was posted 9/13/2010. I remember this from 2010. It was a phenomenal article. And the title is A College Education of Diminishing Returns. And you are going to hear about two guys, fictitious, but it doesn't matter because the data that is used is pulled right out of the system, college system, and the public numbers. So it's not something that's fake or imaginary. It's pure facts. But they just said, Joe and Bill, whatever, as part of the story. And they're going to compare what happens when you take a person who is freshly out of high school and decides, I don't really have the money to go into college, so I'm just going to go get a job right now, standard job, making standard money as you would expect from a person who doesn't have a college education, who just got out of high school. But I have $16,000 saved up that my parents gave me as if I want to use that towards college. And then they're going to compare that to another guy who goes and says, you know what, I am going to go to college, and I'm going to use that $16,000 to make part of my payment on my college tuition. And also, of course, get a student loan to finish paying it and get a better education. And, of course, I'll be making a lot more money. And that's the gist of the story. So one guy gets right out of high school, goes straight to work, takes his $16,000 and invests it in just an average investment. Again, pure numbers here. Go back and look at the history of the stock market and that kind of thing. Just an average investment. And I think they said it was 8%. And then the other guy went straight to school for several years, then got his job, paid off his loan, all that. And at some point, he also decides, I need to start investing in the stock market too. But I can invest more than the other guy because I'm getting paid more now. I've got a college education. So they both had $16,000 to start with when they got out of high school. One decided to go to college. The other one decided not to and take that and use it as a nest egg in retirement and let it just accumulate until he retires. Here's the story. The law of diminishing returns is a nasty little ordinance, and few aspects of life escape its tyranny. A short list of exceptions would include sex and world peace, or at least world peace. To be sure about sex, a poll of long married couples might be necessary. Suffice to say that this law wields more power over life than any formal statute in the U.S. Penal Code. For proof of this fact, consider the lamentable condition of the college education. Once upon a time, a college education in America was a one-way ticket to a high-paying job and a lofty socio-economic status. Part of its value derived from the fact that a college education was relatively rare. In 1950, only about 5% of all Americans held a bachelor's degree. Since this 5% tended to fare so much better than the rest of the American population, lots of folks began to ask themselves, why not send as many kids as possible to college? This simple question sparked what would become a massive college bubble. The simple question spawned a myriad scholarship programs, a college construction boom, if you will, and Sallie Mae, the Student Loan Marketing Association, in 1972. Now today, more than 25% of Americans hold a bachelor's degree. 5 times, and this was written like 2 years ago, right? So, or was it 09 or 010? 9/13/2010, so about a year ago. This simple question, today more than 25% of Americans hold a bachelor's degree, 5 times more than in 1950. But guess what? A bachelor's degree ain't what it used to be. The law of diminishing returns is having its way. According to the National Association of Colleges and Employers, more than half of all 2007 college graduates who had applied for a job had received an offer by graduation day. In 2008, that percentage tumbled to 26% and to less than 20% last year, which means 2009. Statistics like these do not inspire confidence in a college degree. I mean, obviously. More and more Americans have alma maters for which to cheer. But fewer and fewer have employment prospects worth cheering about. While it's true that a college degree tends to correlate with a relatively high income, the nearby chart clearly shows that this relative high is drifting lower. During the last 8 to 10 years, the median income of highly educated Americans has been declining. These statistics are troubling even before examining their price tag. And what's a price tag? And what a price tag it is. The average annual tuition plus expenses at a private nonprofit 4-year college is about $35,000. That's $140,000 in 4 years, or just a little bit less than the median cost of an average American home. How did prices ever get this crazy? Thanks Sallie Mae, vendor extraordinaire of student loans. Thanks to Sally and the industry she pioneered, most of the nation's college graduates now possess far more debt than opportunity. According to finalaid.org, the total amount of money Americans have borrowed on government and private student loans is $830 billion, which has surpassed the total American consumer balance on credit cards, which was only $827 billion. But the problems wrought by Sallie Mae are far more pervasive and insidious than mere indebtedness. Were it not for Sallie Mae, aspiring college graduates could never have borrowed far more money than they could ever hope to repay. Universities could never have begun to believe that they are worth what they charge. Professors could never have obtained their coddled lifestyles, and the cost of a college education could never have appreciated well beyond any connection to its true economic value. And herein lies the dirty little truth about an advanced degree. It doesn't always do much advancing. Sometimes things we believe for a good reason our whole lives turn out one day to no longer be true because circumstances have changed, writes Jack Hugh in a delightful little article for Smart Money. Consider two childhood friends. Here's the story. Ernie and Bill. Hard workers with helpful families. Each saves $16,000 for college. Ernie doesn't get accepted to a school he likes. Instead, he starts work at 18 and invests his college savings, the $16K, in a mutual fund that tracks the broad stock market. Throughout his life, Ernie makes an average yearly pay for a high school graduate with no college, starting at $15,900 after taxes and peaking at around $32,000. Sounds completely reasonable. Each month, he adds to his stock fund 5% of his after-tax income, close to the nation's current savings rate. It returns approximately 8% a year, typical for stock investors. Now, Bill has a typical college experience. He gets into a public college and after 2 years transfers to a private one. He spends $49,000 on tuition and required fees, the average for such a track. I'm not counting room and board, since Bill must pay for his keep whether he goes to college or not. Bill gets average-sized grants, adjusting for average probabilities of receiving them, and so he pays $34,000 for college. He leaves school with an average-sized student loan and a good interest rate, $17,000 at 5%. And by the way, I'm rounding off. $17,450. I'm not going to say that. $17,000 at 5%. The $17,000 he has saved for college, or the $16,000 he saved for college, that they both did when they left high school. This guy has precisely enough to pay with what his loans didn't cover. So kiss his $16,000 goodbye, but now he's set up to go to school with a college loan also. Bill, the college guy, will have higher pay than Ernie his whole entire life, starting at $23,000 after taxes and peaking at probably around $56,000, $57,000. Again, completely normal. That sounds right. Like Ernie, the guy who didn't have college education, they both set aside 5%. And at that rate, it will take this guy 12 years to pay off his loan. Debt-free at 34, he starts adding to the same index, right? So at 34 years old, he now has his loan and everything paid off, right? Because he can't just dump his entire paycheck into paying the loan off. He has a lifestyle to live. He has a house to pay, right? So he's taking a small percentage to pay off his college loan, which he did. 34 years old. Now he's ready to invest. At 34 years old, I mean, that's how old I am, basically. Now he's ready to invest in the rest of his life for retirement. And he's got that debt paid off. So now he's ready to really put out some change, right? So he starts adding to the same index fund as the other guy. And making bigger monthly contributions, by the way, because he has higher pay. But when the two reunite at 65 years of age for a retirement party, Ernie, the guy that didn't have a college education, will have grown his savings to nearly $1.3 million. Bill, the guy who went to college, got the bigger pay, will have less than a third of that $1.3 million saved up at 65 years of age. How can that be, right? How can that be? College degrees bring higher income. But at today's cost, they can't make up the savings they consume and the debt they add early in the life of a typical student. While Ernie was busy earning, right? As soon as he got out of high school, 18, I'm getting a job and I'm setting up my retirement immediately. Right? So while Ernie was doing that, Bill, the smart guy, right, supposedly, got stuck under his bill. Paying back this damn loan the rest of his life, or till 34 anyways. Incredible. So, the great enemy of the truth, John F. Kennedy declared in a 1962 commencement address at Yale University, quote, let me back up. The great enemy of the truth is very often not the lie, deliberate, contrived, and dishonest, but the myth, persistent, persuasive, and unrealistic. Gotta love JFK. 50 years later, a Yale education itself may be one small part of a vast American myth. Send your kids to Yale if you want, but don't be surprised if the grads over at New Haven High are faring better financially a few years from now. So, sure, as we all know, a lot of the Princeton, Harvard, Yale crew end up in government and Goldman Sachs, right? That's only if you're a member of the club and your family is hooked up with the club. Plenty of people go to Princeton, Harvard, and Yale, and they're not in the government, they're not in Goldman Sachs, they're not into banking and finance. They do have the education, and they do have the higher paying jobs, but what did that education cost them versus what they make and their retirement, as if you were to plug in the same numbers into this article that I just read you. This is one of my favorite of all-time articles that destroys the college myth. My bozo, hate to say this, I try to wake her up. My mom is becoming more and more of a bozo lately, and I'm trying to snap her out of some things. She sold all her silver, not that she had much. My dad was forcing her, basically, give me some of your freaking money out of your check. Stop wasting it. Stop blowing it. Give it to me. I'm going to go down to the flea market. And when I go buy my coins, I'm going to buy you a few. Okay. Shortly after that, I don't know how many she had. I need money. I'm selling my silver. Mom, you remember when you had that silver? The dad was kind of making you get, just kind of doing it for you? Yeah. And you demanded you had to have it back because you needed some cash? Yeah. It's more than doubled in this short period of time that you had it and sold it. I know, I needed the money at the time. You didn't need any of the money at the time. I know what happened. You didn't need any of the money at the time. So now her new thing is, I think I want to go back to school. You're in your mid-50s. and you want to go back to school, i.e. college. Mom, I think I need to call Mom up. Mom, better yet, let me email you. Mom, look at this video I just did on YouTube. Actually, I better not do that because I did use the word bozo. Can't call my mom a bozo on TV and then have her, or on YouTube and then have her watch it. But, you know, it's no different than saying, Mom, you're a sheep. She is. So is my sister. My dad is 100% on the same page I'm at, which is incredible. Most people can't say that, but I can. I'm proud of that. Same with my wife. We're on the same page. But a lot of friends and other family are not. So now you want to go get a college education, Mom? Are you serious? You should be retiring in like 7 years. So go get your college education. Get yourself in debt. You can't get out of that debt, by the way. Of course, college loan or, you know, student loan, whatever you want to call it. At her age, I don't know how you call her a student, but fine, student loan. It's just, all this is the same thing my mother-in-law went through. I'm older now. I need retirement. I'm feeling the pressure. I don't have hardly anything saved up. I've got to rapidly get some kind of retirement going. I need to do something. I got to do something. I'm working at a dead-end job. I'm barely making above minimum wage, or I'm making $12, $13 an hour, whatever it is. It's not enough. Prices are going up. They're feeling that squeeze, and they're reacting. That's all it is. Simple reaction. Damn it, I didn't go to college. That's the answer. Damn it, if I went to college right now, or had a college education, I'd be making a lot more money right now. I would not be in this situation. Not only is that false, that is completely untrue to the 10th power. Because of the story you would have just read, you'd have been hawked up into debt. You would have been making more money, but you'd still be living a lifestyle that's pretty much the same as it is now, and have nothing to show for it. Or you would have a slightly better lifestyle, but when you went to retire, didn't have hardly anything to show for it, such as this guy. Sure, he had a decent house, had a decent car, but had 1/3 of the $1.3 million that the other guy had. He's got a nice retirement. And that guy can take his money, and when he dies, have leftover. Here's to my kids and this and that. Here's what I learned, kids. Don't bother with college at this point. Here's some money that you could just take over and just start a business, for that matter. I was able to do it because I, went straight to worked my whole life, saved up $1.3 million. I'm going to have some of that left over. Matter of fact, I'm going to give each of you a little bit of money to invest yourself. So rather than start out with $16,000 like I did, I'm going to let you guys start out with $100,000 each and invest that into a safe, somewhat safe retirement fund or whatever, and let it build up until you guys retire. You guys will have millions of dollars at that point if you guys are just turned 18 and you did this right. That would be some smart thinking. But the other guy, I got to go get a college education. Sure, you have a little nicer house than I have, right, than a normal guy. You have a nicer car I have, but you are in debt more than we are. All you're doing is able to use a bigger credit card during your lifespan, and that's it. And then when you die, you actually have less than the other guy. This is absurd. And also, we all know that 50% of college students who graduate usually don't go get a job that has nothing to do with what they got a degree in. A friend of mine has his bachelor's degree, for God's sakes. Now, his father is fairly well off, well-respected lawyer in the Tampa area, and paid for his son's college education. Fantastic. That's one way it could work. Because you can go out and get a high-paying, decently paying job and not have student debt because your father paid for it. That's fine, and that's great. But he, too, is not doing anything in his college-educated, what he received as a diploma, right? Nothing to do with it. He bought a pool company, maybe with help from his father. I don't know. Don't know how he would have that kind of money to buy a pool company, but whatever. And is now running the pool company, pool cleaning and that kind of thing, pool servicing company. I don't know how well he's doing or not, but that's what he did. That's just a point I'm making, that it has nothing to do with why he went to college. So you would almost ask, why spend that 4 years wasting your life then? Basically, you wasted it. And you could have just said, Dad, let's go buy a company then, 4 years ago, and then not wasted the college money at all, put that into the business and let it boom and take off or whatever. Now you have this college debt that your dad paid for, which was wasted, and now you have also a company that you own that maybe he wasted more money to get started when you could have just saved him the trouble of the college fee, basically, is what I'm getting at. I'm just using that story. But This is a fantastic article. Hope you enjoyed it. Have a nice night.